Greetings, beautiful people. My name is Simon Javan Okelo. I am the CEO and the founder of Madaraka Festival, and I am also the host of the Madaraka Festival podcast. We are recording live from the Seattle Drum School of Music, and today's episode features an amazing, creative genius. Her name is Adala Makhulo, originally from Kenya, living here in Seattle, Washington, with me and many other Kenyans in the Seattle area. Adala does amazing work in the media space, but particularly we will go deep into the work that Adala is doing with Exposition show, which is something she started during the pandemic. Yeah. Before we get into that, though, I want us to just go back a little bit to a time when you are like 5 to 10 and reflect on some of the colors, some of the sounds, and some of the smells that you grew up with that continue to influence you and the work that you do today.
Yeah. Firstly, thank you so much for having me here. This is an honor to be here and have this conversation with you.
Of course.
And I think going back in time, I think that the first thing that popped up in my mind when you asked me that question is, I'll say the color yellow. Oh. I think that was the color of my childhood room. Growing up. So yellow, and also the clothes that I would wear, I think, because I grew up a triplet, so I have 2 siblings who are the same age as I am, and growing up, my parents would always try to distinguish us as much as possible. Like, we were never those kids that would wear like the exact same clothes. Especially me and my sister. Like, my parents would always dress us in more or less the same thing, but like different colors to differentiate us. And I feel like I grew up wearing like a lot of yellow clothes as well. So I think that's one color that like really, really sticks out to me. And I think even with my childhood room, my parents asked me like what color I wanted my room to be, and like yellow was the first thing that like popped into my mind. So my room was yellow, my curtains were yellow. So that's like a color that I really love, I would say, to this day. And like, I feel like it's also a color that looks very good on Black people as well. It's like very vibrant. It makes your skin pop. It's just like, it just looks really, really good. And I see that like influencing me even to this day, even like subconsciously. And we're going to talk more about like Exposition, but like the primary color of Exposition is yellow. And I'm only realizing that now, like when I'm speaking about it, where like, when I was thinking of like my vision for like what I wanted Exposition to look like, what I wanted it to represent from like a brand kit point of view, yellow was like the first color that like came into my mind. So if you look at our logo, I like our posters, like majority of them like feature the color yellow in some capacity. So yeah, I would say that that is a color that I do deeply love, and from a child up until this day. And let me see, what else? The smells. I think the first thing that popped into my mind was like my auntie's chapos, for sure. Oh my gosh, man,
You're making me crave chapati. I haven't had chapati in a while.
I have not had chapati in a while too. I would love a chapati right now. But I think that's the first thing that popped into my mind, because my auntie she makes like the best chapos. And I think growing up, we would have chapos on like Wednesday and Friday were like the 2 days. And like those are the days we would just look for.
Thursdays.
And Fridays,
Wednesdays and Fridays.
Wednesdays and Fridays, which are like two. Amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. Typically, it's like once a week for like most like households. But yeah, but
or once a year, Christmas.
Exactly.
Like when I think of chapo, well, growing up, before I knew how to go and buy things on my own, I would primarily see chapos around Christmas, you know. But then after class 5, I started going to the street chapati sellers, you know. So I would have chapati in my pocket, like all the other boys. And just get a little piece of it, you know, until it gets cold. Then I'm like, okay, let me. Anyway, those are my chapati stories. What about some of the sounds that you grew up in?
Let me see. I would say some of the sounds I grew up with, well, definitely like my siblings shouting and screaming. I think we always grew up around noise because we were like three like very energetic, bubbly kids. So the sounds of my siblings' voices growing up, like we were each other's best friends. Like even when we would go to school, my parents would intentionally make sure we're not in the same class because like we would not want friends, you know? It's like you already have your two best friends. You don't need more friends. So my parents would be like very intentional about making sure we're in different classes just so we can actually talk to other kids and socialize with other kids. But I would also say something else that I've thought of was like Classic 105, like the radio station Classic 105. So every morning when my dad would drive us to school, like that's a radio station that we listened to. Because I think we would listen to Kiss FM here and there, but like some of the content was just not like child appropriate. So Classic 105 was definitely like a station we listened to all the time, and I remember hearing those songs. And at that time, I was like a child, you know. So some of the songs I was like, no, like I want to listen to like pop music, you know. What is this? But now, like to this day, when I look at like some of my playlists on my phone, they have like a lot of those songs that I grew up listening to, and I really love them now, and I appreciate them. So yeah, and every time I hear those songs, I think of like, you know, my dad playing them when we were in the car. So it's just like a very nostalgic moment every time I listen to those songs. Yeah.
It's amazing how music, at least for me, the particular Bob Marley songs that I listened to as a preteen, I was not even a teenager. You know, the first songs I listened to on the Walkman, you know, and if I listen to those songs today with my kids, I feel so happy, and they feel happy. They're like, "Ooh, Daddy really enjoys this song." You know, tell us about it. You know, So it's amazing that you have some of the songs you listened to as a child in your playlist now.
Yeah, exactly.
Now let's talk a little bit about Exposition. You know, why did you start Exposition? Why was it important for you to start Exposition? You know, where are things with Exposition now? And what's your dream with it? Where do you want to take it if there are no obstacles?
Yeah, wow, those are very good questions. But I think, Exposition, so it's basically a digital show that's on YouTube. And it's based in Kenya. And basically our mission is to provide spaces for young Kenyans to talk about topics that are of importance to them. And we also really want to encourage like healthy debates, you know, so we want to see people who have like different opinions on different topics, but talking about it in a safe space, you know, and being able to hear each other out and listen to each other's points of view. And I really felt the need to do this because when I had moved here to the US in 2019, there was a very similar show that I would watch on YouTube that was based here in the US. So it would feature like American people would talk about like American topics and just have like really good conversations and encourage healthy debate as well. But I never saw anything like that existed back home in Kenya, you know. So I think that was the main motivation for me, was like I love creating. I loved making films and just producing things. And I really wanted to produce something that would be meaningful to like the Kenyan youth, and then also to build community within like the youth and cultivate just like a culture of youth who are very like socially conscious. They're very aware of like what's going on in our society, and, you know, have like viewpoints and like opinions on different things that are happening, even though it might not like necessarily affect you. So the first episode we talked about like colorism within like the community in Kenya. So we had a conversation with women who were just talking about like just their life experiences, with like family and like dating and just like different social areas of their life where being either light-skinned or dark-skinned has affected their experiences. And then we also had a conversation with men too, to show now like a different perspective. And then we also had an episode, so this was like a 3-part, it was it was 3 episodes, and then the third episode we had a group discussion now amongst men and women. To just talk about now their like shared experiences like as a collective, and that was really good. The episode did pretty well, I think. In terms of our production quality at that time, that was our first episode, so it's not the best. But you obviously have to start from somewhere to grow. So after that, we have like an Instagram page, we have a TikTok, we have a Twitter account as well. So on there, once we started posting the episodes, we would engage with like our followers and like ask them what they wanted to see, because we wanted to create content that they wanted to see, and wanted to involve like our community as much as possible. So I would post on there just to a question to ask people what they wanted to see, and then we would just filter all the responses and just do a tally and see what was like recurring. So after we made that first episode, we did other episodes, we did one on like men's mental health in Kenya, which is a very stigmatized topic, and we brought together like 5 Kenyan men who were going through various mental health struggles, and just gave them a space to like talk about what it is that they have gone through, support, how they've looked for support when, things were not going very well, and then also offered like some resources as well to anyone who's watching the episode and was looking for support. And then we've also talked about body positivity. So we did an episode where we brought together plus-size women to just talk about their experiences being plus-size. We've done an episode on like the drinking culture in Kenya.
Wow, which is
crazy. Which is crazy.
Yeah, I was hanging out with friends here recently. Yeah, and they brought a bottle of whiskey. Uncle Nearest, one of the nice bottles of whiskeys. Yeah, here. And then, we each had just little. And then I told them, if this was Kenya, each person would have their own bottle. You guys are underserving us. It's crazy, though. And then we have this culture of, what is it called? Where people stay in clubs all night. What is it? Aluta.
Yes.
Aluta,
my gosh, yes.
And like during Easter weekends, it's a marathon, Aluta marathon, where people go to clubs on Friday and they leave on Monday.
That's crazy.
Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, oh my God, that is crazy. But yes, obviously, as you know, like the drinking culture in Kenya is very prevalent. Yeah. Yes, so I wanted to do an episode where I brought together people who don't drink and people who do drink to just talk about, like their experiences drinking in Kenya, going out. Of course, partying is like a very big part of like the drinking culture as well. So that was like a very interesting, more like light-hearted episode. But it was a very good one, and one that people really, really liked. I think it's one of like our most popular ones, which makes sense. So yeah, I think that's just basically like the essence of like Exposition, is just like asking our community what topics they want to see, and then like providing a space for people who want to talk about those topics to come and have those conversations. So even when it comes to finding people to be in those episodes, we put out like an open call to anyone who, has an opinion on a specific topic, and then bring them in for a day. We rent out a space, we rent out equipment, get a crew, and then we film a couple of episodes in a day. So yeah, so I was doing that for a year. I think I started in 2021. Up until about like 2020, towards the end of 2022 is when I was very actively working on it. And this was when I was back home in Kenya. So for now, it is kind of on a small hiatus. We're on a little bit of a break. I think there was a lot. It was a lot for me to manage, especially being like a full-time student, being based here in the U.S., and trying to run a whole business and produce a whole show back home in Kenya was very challenging. So I took a break from it, but it is something that I am hoping to get back into whenever the right time is to do that. But
I can actually relate
yeah.
to exactly what you're talking about, because I produced Madaraka Festival podcast in Kenya last year. I was in Kenya for 6 months.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so I produced multiple episodes, close to like 30 episodes.
Wow.
But then I traveled with my equipment, trained a crew, and left them all the equipment so that they could now continue producing Madaraka Festival podcast episodes from there on their own. I've had challenges with it, similar to you. Managing things from here is hard. And there are many things I've been able to manage for almost 20 years. I've been living in the US this is my 15th year.
Wow.
And so, of course, I've been lucky and privileged to travel back and forth. But one of the most challenging things to do is to run a business or to do a project while you're here,
Exactly.
It can't be done exactly how you like it.
Yes.
So I think if you don't care too much and you have someone that you trust enough, family, just do it. Whatever the results are, it's fine.
Yeah.
But, just before we started recording this episode, my producer and I were like, you need to get those equipments in Kenya shipped here, because those equipments are nicer than what we have here.
Yeah.
So I can really relate to that. But I want to talk a little bit more about your passion for media, because outside of exposition, you've been involved with production of TV shows internationally. You've also helped me with the production of Madaraka Festival, especially last year, 2024, which was our most ambitious Madaraka Festival ever, which we had to postpone. You were super, super helpful in doing things that, a lot of people want to see. A lot of people celebrate results, but the work that people don't see is the kind of work you're helping me with. So I'm really grateful.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So talk about your passion for media and why this is so important to you.
Yeah. I'd say my passion for media stemmed from like high school is where like I really started getting into like filmmaking specifically. So I went to a high school in India, which is so random, but
I didn't know that.
yeah, I did. It's very random, but
Yeah.
I was in India for high school for 2 years.
Okay.
And one of the classes I was taking was like a film studies class.
Okay.
So I was in a classroom, and it was a very diverse international school.
Yeah.
And I was in a class with like a lot of my peers, and we talk a lot about like Hollywood, of course, and Bollywood, because we were based in India.
Yeah.
And I felt like African cinema was like really lacking in the conversation. Like it would come up here and there, but for the most part, like we weren't really talking too much about like African cinema. And even for me, I couldn't really contribute much to the conversation because I didn't grow up watching things that were made back home. I grew up mostly watching like Western media. And I saw that as like a big problem, whereby like, of course, it is a problem that we're not discussing African cinema more in like classes, but then it's an even bigger problem that I myself, who is African, I'm not able to, actively contribute to such a discussion. So I think after that is when I decided to just take a gap year, go back home to Kenya for 1 year and like really immerse myself in like the industry back home. That was my goal before coming to the US for college. So I went home. I was home for a year. I joined this academy by MultiChoice. So they were doing their very first academy called the MultiChoice Talent Factory, where they brought together young Africans and were basically taking us through like a boot camp to learn about filmmaking in Kenya. So I was there for 1 year, and I got to really, really immerse myself in the industry there. I got to meet people who were doing big things in the industry back home. Got to like intern on like different sets, and then also I think most importantly got to now make my own movies. So as a class, we made 2 feature-length films, so 2-hour-long movies that were going up on Showmax and DSTV. And then we also made like short films here and there. So, and I think that experience like really, really solidified for me, like this is the space that I you know, it's my calling. And this is where I see myself, you know, making the most like meaningful work and having an impact. So from then on, I just ran with it and came here to the US with a goal of learning everything I could from, you know, people in the industry here, because there's a reason why it is one of the most influential like industries in the world. There's something which they definitely are doing right. So I really wanted to learn as much as I could and then pour that like back into the industry back home was my goal. And I think Exposition was like one of the ways in which I was able to do that, where as I was learning here in the US and making connections, gaining skills, like I was now pouring all of that like back home into like Exposition. So yeah, I think I do have like a very deep passion for like storytelling, telling stories about like Black people, about like African people specifically. Like those are the stories that I am drawn to because they're not really stories that we see, you know, in like the mainstream media. And I think also another big goal of mine is to have like young people who are watching, young people back home in Kenya growing up watching things that are made back home and are actually proud of the things that we make, you know, and not having a lot of youth who grew up the same way that I did, just watching like Western media and neglecting media that's made back home, but then maybe finding like a balance of the two where you are watching things which are made outside of your country, which is obviously a great thing, but then also you're watching things which are made by your people for you. You're seeing yourself represented, and you know, I think that's like my main goal when it comes to storytelling and media.
Yeah. Love that. Namaste.
Namaste. I think that's the only thing I left there with.
Is that true?
Yeah, I did not really learn much of the language.
No?
So no.
You didn't learn Shukriya?
No.
Do you know what Shukriya means?
Does it mean thank you?
It means thank you.
Okay, good. I know that at least. Yeah, that was an educated guess, but yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I love learning other languages. You know.
What other languages do you know?
Man, I know a little bit of Japanese.
Oh, nice.
I know a little bit of Spanish.
Okay.
I know a little bit of Russian, which is Ukrainian.
Yeah.
I always just look for words that can make people laugh, you know.
Yeah.
Or that can make people feel like, you know, for example, in Mandarin, you know, in Chinese, I know this word that it goes newbie. And newbie means I am amazing, you know.
Okay.
And a lot of Chinese people, when you meet them, they're only used to people saying ni hao, you know.
Yeah.
But then I say ni hao, and then they reply, and then I say newbie, and they're like, ha ha ha. And they're like, where did you learn that? You know? So I just love finding ways to have a deeper connection with people, you know. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, that's something I feel like I used to be like that when I was younger. Yeah. And I stopped, like, in fact, when I first came to the US, my first job was interpreting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for like 3 years I was interpreting from home. Then I ended up working at UW, also partly because of acting and language. So recently I've just been doing it more because my day job, I interact with like 5,000 plus tourists every day. Really? Here in Seattle.
What? Where?
Oh, I'll talk to you later about it. I don't want to market that company.
Okay.
Anyway, I want us to talk about Madaraka Festival. In 2024, we were going to have, in my opinion, the most amazing Madaraka Festival. But it was also the most difficult Madaraka Festival to manage in my entire 10 years of doing Madaraka Festival. This is the 11th year. You know, just to give people who are watching context, in 2024, we were planning to have a 13-city tour with Nyashinsky as the headliner. and Savara, solid lineup. Then visa issues became the biggest challenge, and it was a snowball effect. From there, a lot of things went south. But luckily, I was able to gain the courage and put everything together and do the event in Kenya, because I was there at that time. And now we are back to Seattle doing it on August 30th. Just share your reflection, just based on what you've learned so far, your involvement. And of course, you and me met at Blast Fest,
Yes, we did. Yes,
so
that's
you
true.
have a good idea of live events,
Yes,
Yeah, we met at Blast Fest. I remember seeing someone flying the drone, and I was like, wow, who is flying this drone? And then finally I figured out it was you, and I learned that you are Kenyan, and here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
So reflect on Madaraka Festival a little bit, and then I'll ask you to say one thing in the on this, looking at this camera in just a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm very glad that we met at Blast Fest. That was very serendipitous, I will say, because that was around the time I had just moved here to Seattle. I was looking for community, looking for other Africans and Kenyans. So I was very, very glad when we met and connected, and then followed up, met up in person. You told me more about Madaraka Festival as well. I think my experience being a part of the team, I had a great experience. I think that was my first time ever working in a professional environment post-college. So I know that the media space is definitely a space that I see myself thriving in. So it was a very good opportunity to get to work with you. I think you're a great leader. You're very easy to talk to, very understanding, and very open-minded as well, open to ideas, and I think that was a very big thing for me is, just having a leader who is open-minded. I think because even when I was now just entering this space post-graduation, I had a lot of nerves, a lot of cold feet, and I think you definitely helped ease some of those nerves that I was feeling. And I think it was also just a great opportunity to get to see how things work behind the scenes. I think we were connecting with a lot of potential partners and sponsors and universities and all the likes, and I was really involved in that, sitting in on those meetings, updating spreadsheets, and just making sure a lot of the admin stuff was taken care of. So I gained a lot of good skills from that experience. It's definitely something that I look back on very fondly, back in 2023 when I had just graduated from college. So yeah, I think I have only good things to say, and I'm looking forward to August 30th. I will be there for sure. And I'm just looking forward to everything that's to come. I know a lot of good things are coming, so yeah.
Please look at this camera and invite everyone to join us August 30th at Pier 62.
Yeah, August 30th, Pier 62. Please be there. That's the only place to be at on August 30th. So invite your friend, bring your mom, bring your cousin, bring your best friend, bring your enemy, bring everyone. And we hope to see you all there.
Excellent. So if somebody wants to support the work you do with Exposition or want to stay in touch with you, share with them how they can do that.
Yeah, so I am most active on Instagram. So you can find me on my personal Instagram, which is adala.m. So that is ADALA.m. And then we also have an Instagram page for Exposition as well, which is just Exposition Media. So those are the best ways to stay in touch. Yeah.
I love the name Exposition Media.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was pre-chat GPT, so that was something that we thought of ourselves. But I love the name too. It's a really, really good name.
Anything I didn't ask that you want to share before we wrap up?
I think one thing I would share is just to young like Africans who are interested in like the media arts space, and just like letting people know that there are opportunities here in the US. I think in my experience, I found that like a lot of Africans who come here to the US follow a very similar path, which is not really in like the arts and entertainment space, but I just wanted to share that there are opportunities out there for like young Africans to come here to learn and then hopefully channel a lot of the things that you learn back into the industry back home, and just never forget your roots. Yeah.
I love that. Never forget your roots.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Thank you all for joining us for this incredible episode of Madaraka Festival podcast. My guest was the incredible Adala Makhulo. Make sure you watch this from the beginning to the end to really grasp some of the incredible stories that we covered today. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel. That's one of the direct ways that you can support the growth of not just this podcast, but Madaraka Festival, as well as the work we do in Kenya with One Vibe Africa. Thank you so much. Peace.